Yo, what's up, ladies and gentlemen? Patch notes dropped about, it says 1 minute on the screen, but it's been like 20 minutes of just been kind of discussing it with a few people. But we're just going to do a quick rundown of what's in the patch notes, and then just a couple thoughts and opinions on kind of what isn't there. But we'll get into that as we go. The first thing's a bunch of quality of life updates. These are mainly for Reg server in regards to tradability of pitched items and the boss set items. They all have PSOC limits with 10 times and then 5 times on pitched items. Controversial because we've never had scissor counts on, like, I don't know. I don't remember the last time I saw one, so it's kind of strange how they gave us that. The symbol revamp is also in this patch, where there is a massive cost reduction to these symbols. It's not only Arcane River, but sacred symbols as well, so it's a fantastic thing to keep in mind to save yourself some money, which is pretty nice. Spell Trace, there's now new types of Spell Traces for Reg servers. Dimension Invasion, Evo Lab, Oswan, Silent Crusade, which is the Silent Crusade shop, have all been removed from the game. Bosses will no longer drop Silent Crusade coins. Evo Lab secondaries are now obtained in a different place. The Dimension Gloves are no longer obtainable. You can now auto-teleport to Elysium, so you can buy extra stuff in the shop. And Blackhaven has had a Evo Lab story added into it if you ever want to do that. There's probably going to be achievements and whatnot associated with that. You will now automatically create a party or disband when you go into a content that requires one. So say you go into Dojo, it will ask you to remove your party. If you go into Monster Park, it'll say get out of a party, so on and so forth. GPQ, Flag Race, MapleStory, all that sort of stuff. It just does it automatically. When you try and attempt story modes for certain bosses, it will do the same thing, which is pretty good. A bunch of other stuff here. New Star Force maps, which are pretty good, but I think the Star Force required for these is like 160. So good luck getting 160 on a mule in that area. They've also had a bunch of quests in Tenebris for the daily quests changed. So they're more focused on like individual mob types in better maps and things like that. So they removed all of these quests and then they added all of these, which is pretty good. Buff freezers have been removed. It's now just a permanent game feature that you'll never lose your buffs if you die. You will still get death EXP penalties, things like that. But yeah, that's just what happens. Zachem Tech, or the thing where people, I don't know, I never did it, but they go into Zachem, they kill the arms, they leave, and then they come back in 30 minutes for like EXP. I mean, just grind, bro. But Zachem Tech has been removed. All of the EXP has been put into the body, but that means you can only level up twice instead of like 15 times or whatever, because from one EXP source you can only get 199%. So you won't have those crazy like 0 to like 100 to like 115 in like one Zac kind of thing. It's kind of disappointing. Magnus has had, and we're going to go over this in a separate video at a later date, but he's had a bunch of stuff changed about him, like a bunch of cooldowns put onto his skills, all that kind of stuff. Sleeping Glass has had like a massive cooldown put on it. It's really, really good. There's no longer like an instant kill meteorite from the blue as well. It's just purple that insta kills you. Yeah, there's a lot of good stuff in there. And then in Reg World, they've added Bpot cubes to these bosses, because you can now tier Bpots to Epic for free to play. So there's a nice gain there. And then they've adjusted the following item drops. I don't know what adjusted means. Only Nexon does. So keep that in mind. Oh my. A bunch of stuff about growth potions. Graphic options, there's a bunch of changes here. And there's some UI updates as well, which is really, really nice. Meso Market in Reg server. You can now list 100 times per day. So Natasha, that's good. And then you can have up to 500 bill, in your pocket at one time. That also applies to your storage. So just, more Meso in general. And then they've also changed the daily gift, because they're no longer going to give you like certain items, like, what's it called? Pendant slot and buff freezers and stuff. And then they've put Bpot cubes, same as always, Reboot will get your mysterious Meso pouch instead. And then we have the Reboot changes. Now what this is, I've done a video on this before, but this is the 5% boss like damage nerf. So if you don't do 5% damage, you won't get any loot. Now there is this has to be a typo. There's no shot that this is real. But in the patch notes, they've written less than 5% based on damage dealt by the entire party. What I think this means is that of all of the damage dealt, if you've done less than 5% damage of the boss, aka the damage of the entire party, you won't get anything. I think this is just a translation error. And a lot of people have been, kind of complaining about this on the Discord, but I think it, as we all believe, it functions the way we all think it does. So you deal 5% damage, because your 5% damage is technically 5% of the damage dealt by the entire party, because the damage dealt by the entire party is the health of the boss, if that makes sense. Blah 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 blah. Skill improvements. I'd recommend, if your job is in here, to go sort of over these yourself. But there's a general change to sort of the will skills and the blessing skills. They've had cooldowns reduced. Combat orders no longer apply to certain will skills, and they've all gone down to a flat 300 seconds. And then for warriors, for example, impenetrable skin has been cooldown cut in half, but its effectiveness has been cut in half as well, essentially. And then there's a bunch of other sort of jobs in here. So hero, paladin, dark knight, ice lightning, bishop, all explorer bowmen. So bowmaster, marksman, pathfinder, night lord I think this is the night lord nerf after the buff last patch. Dual blade, buck got a nerf on their defensive stance. Corsair, cannoneer, dawn warrior got a nerf, which kind of deserved. Blaze wizard gets a buff. In the KMS notes, they wrote that Blaze Wizard was overperforming. I found that quite funny. Nightwalker nerf. And then it's just a bunch of sort of adjustments to a lot of other classes. Luminous, Mercedes, Phantom, Shade. All demons, so Demon Slayer. All demons. Demon Slayer, where's the A, dude? Blaster gets a change to their Hurricane skill. It now becomes like a big key in front of them or something. Battle Mage gets an adjustment to a 3-minute class, finally. Wild Hunter gets an up jump. Mechanic gets a lot of changes. Xenon, Kaiser, Kane, we're going to get there, don't worry. Lara, Ho-Young, and then this is the one that we're all going to be talking about for quite a while. So this is a Canna change. So they've detailed the sort of before effects, just in case you aren't aware of how Canna works. But for the after effects, this is for Vanquisher Charm. The number of attacks is the same. It's got a 30% damage boost. And then it's basically the same, no? Damage at level 30 increased from 30 to 330. Removed feature that adds 30 stacks required to activate Shikikami Doppelganger. Okay. But this is the crazy one. So Domain, this is the whole reason we basically all party with Cannas in the first place. And just from a brief skim of this, at my first glance, Domain has essentially gone from a 33% final damage buff to a 15% final damage buff with 100% boss damage for the Canna themselves. So it's a big hit to their sort of party utility. And we're going to go over what they talk about with this. So we have designed Canna to excel at various fields that can serve various roles. But as we adjust overpowered spec, Canna's characteristics become vague and the overall power level became low. In order to solve this, we decided to focus on Canna's damage rather than their party support ability, which arguably can be a good thing because they do 0 damage to begin with. As a result, Canna can deal critical damage to enemies, and we've adjusted some of the buffs from Spirit's domain for it. So I'll just be honest, this reads like it's been Google translated, first of all. So I don't overly know if this is... Well, this is from the devs directly, I imagine, but this just reads awfully, in my opinion. I don't know why they've I don't know why they've nerfed this. Unless they're planning to give some sort of, like, final damage effect with the Canna's 6 job, and this is preparing for it. We don't know. But in my opinion, like, why would I boss with a Canna now, dude? I just take a bishop. It's just, like, better in all regard. So we'll see how this kind of shakes up for GMS in general, but I don't know. I've got my opinions on it. Let's put it that way. Maple Chronicle, this is Grand Ethereum, so this is just more story stuff. Tinkerer's Chest is for people that pulled Marvel. Spiegelman Ring Shop. So this is a bunch of new, you've got like cosmetic rings and then actual event rings that you can use. So basically monsters will drop a ticket, you take that to the shop, and then you can buy what you want. So here's all the cosmetic ones. All the classic stuff. This is what I want, is the Neon Action Damage skin, which is also a unit skin. This is such a clean skin, man. This looks really good. I want this. And I want this mount as well, man. This looks real good. It's quite funny. But the actual event ring themselves, so the ones that have the stats, it has every event ring that's ever been, like, in the game. So if you want the event ring chair, and I have it, so I'll sit on it on screen now. If you want this chair, you can get this if you want it via this shop. And it's just a chair with all the event rings, like, hovering around you. But that's a kind of cool thing you can get. And then there's 2x in here if you don't care about anything. It's 5 per day. And then all the other sort of sylph gems and all the stuff that you use to make a sylph ring. After that, we have the Punch King. Now, Punch King is a server-wide event where you are going to be ranked against other people that play your class. And you're all going to have if you've played before, you know what Punch King is, but it's a 12-stage event where you'll compete to do the most, you'll kill it as fast as possible. The person that does so will receive like a fancy chair and some extra, like an NX effect behind their character. The top 10 people will also get a chair, and then you'll get like 2x and 3x and other various rewards that come with it. So this is the NX effect that would appear behind your character, and then these are the chairs that you would get for being in top 10. After Punch King, there's going to be Tactical Relay. Tactical Relay, again, is just another event. These are all the missions that are going to pop up. There is a calculator that can help you plan this yourselves. I'll link that at a later date when we get closer to the time. But the main thing that you want to do this is you've got a bunch of 2x, growth potions, symbol selectors, and then you also, if you get to 12,500 points after the chairs, you get 20,000 maple points. And this is really easy to get, and I'll make a guide on this just sort of when we get there, but this is super easy, so just keep that in mind. And then we also have the 6-star missions announced, and they're just going to go over as chapter 1, 2, and 3, and then here is 3. So these are all the ones that are upcoming after patch. So we've got defeating a boss, getting drops really easy, sealing gates in slime, super easy, undo a brand in Damien, super easy, killing Deathless Lotus. I think this is normal and hard that you can do this in, so it's arguably easy. 1,000 floors in Dojo. There's no chance that I'm doing that. Easy Lucid with a burning character, you just do it in a party. And then defeat all the E-bosses. Deal a fatal wound to Inferno Wolf, so you have to be the one to kill it. Defeat Ursus with A rank 10 times, super easy. And then kill Seavel in 3 minutes with a hyper burning character. If you've completed your hyper burning already, you'll be able to do that in your sleep. Super, super easy. And then they go over the rewards again. And then Burning World. And then we have a new Fairy Bros Golden Giveaway. This is the sort of event check-in thing that we see every time. A bunch of different pets you can get in here. And then all the free cosmetics. There is a unit skin selector with basic unit skin, which is a good pick. And then a bunch of other stuff. And then the last at the end is just about the jet transfer ongoing. Blah, blah, blah. And then the Sunny Sundays. There's no 5, 10, 15 or 50% off in this. There is a 5x mag soul chance on the 17th, which I'll post about when we get closer to the time. And then there is... the other one is this on the 24th. The 300 combo and 100 rune. The rest are kind of irrelevant in my opinion. And then, yeah, there's a bunch of bug fixes. So, yeah, that's what's in the patch notes. So now, we're going to talk about what's not in the patch notes based on from what I've seen. And this may get updated in the future when they notice. Or maybe they've split it into a different patch. But if we Control F and we search for Seren. So in the KMS version of this patch, Seren received a change that she no longer had touch damage, and that you could duck the slash attack in the sunset phase, which is not there. So we've got here where Seren, you cannot avoid Seren's attacks when sword charged, so you can now duck the charge. That's one of the changes. And then the other change is for recovery amount reduction applies to potion pot. So we're missing Seren changes. Another boss that was changed is Gloom. there's no gloom boss change here for the debris. It's just this. Another boss that was changed was Kalos. We've got here that when an attack occurred in the location before teleporting Kalos the Guardian, so that's one change. Fixed an issue where he couldn't use a certain pattern, that's not in there. What happened in Kalos was the explosion patterns of bombs was changed, and the number of bombs was decreased, so we didn't get this either. Let's check. Let's check for Black Mage, because he also got altered in this patch. Black Mage. Black Mage label ring, that's not what we're looking for. Black Mage guards. So there's no Black Mage change in this patch either. That was also in the KMS version. The meteor hit range on the down FMA was decreased. Darknell also got changed in the Korean version of this patch. So let's search for Darknell. There's an achievement change for him. And there's no other change. So this isn't there. The Gloom. I think I already searched for Gloom, but we're going to do it again just for the sake. Gloom. There's no Gloom change. Papalatus. Papalatus. So there's Papu. There's Patmark tradability. Patmark partying. Fixed an issue where the skill seal was applied due to Papulatus curse and time pattern. Skill was removed, abnormal statuses was available but not applied. So there's also all of these that weren't applied in the patch. And then the Magnus changes, they are in there, but none of the other boss ones are. So yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. Along with the sort of general... I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of frustrating, man. But I have a theory on it, and I might get some slack for this. But I genuinely believe, because we typically, from the outside looking in, we sort of copy-paste a patch, in my opinion. I think from where MapleStory put all of these patches into the same patch with Night Troop, they've then implemented that way, and we can't very well copy that patch. Because if we copied that, we would then get Night Troop at the same time, and we're not in that event cycle right now. So I think they've split a bunch of stuff for us, and we're not going to get any of the other bits until Night Troop. That's my theory. I could be wrong, and maybe they've just completely forgotten to put this in patch notes, and I'm making a video way too early. But that's just the way I feel about it, man. It's kind of ridiculous. But yeah, that's my TLDR of the patch notes, man. I'm pretty frustrated because I've been trying to plan a bunch of stuff about these and everything, and then they just don't include a bunch of stuff that we all thought was coming, which is crazy. So yeah, special thanks to my channel members. Thank you DMAS, thank you Cheese Dog, thank you Misty, thank you Michi, thank you Jenkins, thank you Woolia, thank you Particle, and thank you Father Gaming. I do appreciate it very much, guys. And thanks to you for watching, man. Next on, if you're watching, at the small chance, I know that there's a lot of stuff about communication that people say, but this whole, like, splitting up our patches based on what's going on is kind of crazy, because KMS got all of this at once, so I just don't really understand why we didn't get it. But that's just my opinion, man. And, you know, enjoy the rest of your day. Thank you very much.